It doesn't go in there when I. Well. Try to keep it down if you can out there, because I can only block so much, but it's all good. But the last call thought that something was going on back there, like someone was dying in the background. You're yelling at the computer.
No, Al and I were just talking about that.
Oh, that's fine.
You pronounce the word what? It makes it sound like
Wahat. Hello, how are you guys doing?
Good. How about you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll be starting in about 5 or so minutes as everybody joins us. Hey, Nick, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just so you know, like registration blew up overnight and we've got 50 folks registered for this webinar.
Great. The more the merrier.
Yeah, I think the JMU faculty are giving extra credit. So, and we're gonna have a lot of college students, which will be
Sounds
great.
good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I hope they biology professors are sending their kids this way.
I hope so, but I
I
think
doubt it. I doubt it, but
I actually used to do a renewable energy module with a biology teacher for a couple of
really,
years. Yeah, she was teaching biology and we did some renewable energy activities, and not even based on wildlife, just like, because I think she was covering climate change.
oh, very cool.
But yeah, so we're a progressive campus.
Yeah, I haven't been back in a long time, but I need to make a visit and do the rounds.
Yeah, well, next time you're on campus, let us know. We'll happily show you around.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear my dorm got torn down, so
Oh, which dorm were you in?
I was in Dingledine.
Oh, I don't know if the village got rebuilt yet.
Oh, really?
I don't think it's been deconstructed, at least not since, but I haven't been to campus in a while, to be fair. So
True.
it looks like Jeff is here. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I'm finishing up lunch, so I was just going to try to do that real quick.
Understood. I'm having my lunch as we speak. Hey, Patrick, good to see you here.
Hello, Remy. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Great, thanks.
I was just telling Nick and Jeff, since he's here as well, that registration blew up overnight. So we are at about 50 now.
Oh, wow, that's great.
So we are going to wait a little bit to see if we get some more participants logging in. I know the login came out at kind of the last minute. So we'll give it a little bit more time. Plus, a couple of our panelists aren't here yet. We'll start in a couple minutes.
Very good.
While we're waiting for more folks to join us, those of you who are here, we're intending to allow some time to get to know our audience, but with so many of you, that may not be possible. So if you'd like to throw in the chat, we'd love to know mainly where you are at. Are you a teacher? Are you a student? If you're a student or a teacher, what grade you teach or are in? Just so that we can get a feel for who's here, so we can direct the conversation appropriately. So appreciate that. And thanks, Ruth, for joining us. And it's up, and there's Jamie. So I think we have all our panelists here, but we'll give it a couple more minutes. We need to have more people showing up. But I'd love to see us flooding the chat with introductions. So all of those of you who are participating, we'd love to have you just tell us if you're a teacher or a student or other, and at what level that you are teaching or learning at. So that'd be great to see in the chat. Seeing lots of JMU folks on here. That's wonderful. Thank you to your professors for giving you extra credit for attending this. I hope it's worth your while. Ooh, we have a bio major.
Good choice.
No bias there.
None.
Awesome. Hey, Eileen, good to see you here. Okay, so while you guys are flooding the chat with your introductions, I'm going to get us started here. I want to thank everybody for being here today. This is an experiment for us, a first time for putting together a webinar series. And we hope that this is an opportunity for everybody to meet some folks in the industry and learn a little bit more about the amazing opportunities coming down the pike, especially here in Virginia, for jobs in the renewable energy industry. I'm Remy Pangle. I work at the Center for the Advancement of Sustainable Energy here at JMU. I run all of our K-12 outreach programs, and so we administer the Wind for Schools program, which is a DOE-funded program where we work with schools and students to bring renewable energy education, curricula, projects, KidWind challenges, and wind and solar demonstration projects to their schools. And so KidWind is something that you'll probably hear a lot about from some of the folks on our panel. And anyways, so if you have questions about how you can get engaged from the JMU student level, we have internships and volunteer opportunities all the time. And from the teacher standpoint, we have lots of resources available for you. So happy to put my email in the chat and be in touch with anybody on that side of things. But I will be the moderator for today. And so we have some amazing speakers with us today. We've got 5 folks from all over the solar industry representing lots of different types of jobs and backgrounds. So I think this is going to be a real interesting conversation. We're going to run this pretty informally. I'm going to have all of our speakers give an introduction to themselves, and then I have some questions to start seeding the pot and getting the conversation started. And as we go, Grace here is my partner in crime, and maybe she can help me monitor the chat for questions coming from you all. And we will make sure that you guys get to ask as many questions as you want to our panelists. And I encourage you to pick their brains because they're going to be awesome. So with that, I am going to introduce our first speaker, Nick Stoner from AES. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Nick?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Stoner. I'm a project developer with AES Clean Energy, formerly S-Power, doing utility scale solar development here in Virginia. Previously, I was in origination for utility scale wind and solar and battery storage. So doing some of the sales side of things. I graduated from JMU 8 years ago, went into marine biology, and then decided to make a career change. So went back to graduate school and found renewable energy. So happy to be here and excited to talk to you all.
Thanks so much, Nick. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your interesting pathway to the renewable energy industry. Hey, Patrick, how are you doing? I'm going to turn it over to you next for an introduction.
All right, great, thank you. I'm doing very well, thanks. My name is Patrick Fleming. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at a company called Powerfield Energy. We're headquartered in Falls Church, Virginia. We design and manufacture equipment for solar installations. We're a new company. We're just coming to the market this year. Our first product is a racking system for solar panels. We make a ground mount ballasted racking solution, so that brings down the cost and the complexity of installing solar. So we're attempting to be a bit of a disruptor in the industry, mostly just to reduce or eliminate the barriers of cost and complexity for solar energy. My background is pretty diverse. I've led operations for lots of different kinds of companies. This is my first venture in the renewable energy space, and I couldn't be more excited because I've cared for a very long time about sustainability and energy. So it's fun to be involved a little more directly these days. Look forward to talking to you all more.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Appreciate you being here. How about Ruth?
Hello, everybody. My name is Ruth Prideaux, and I work for Dominion Energy. I'm the director of power project construction, mostly for solar, and I've had responsibility to see offshore wind and battery storage as well. I started off with an engineering degree, right down Route 81 at Virginia Tech. Go Hokies! And have been working for Dominion Energy for my entire career, supporting traditional power plant operations, nuclear power plant operations, worked on the wire side of the business and customer as well. But for the last 13 years, I've been focused on renewable energy, and it's really grown to be a big part of our business. So happy to talk to you all about how you all can get involved.
Wonderful, Ruth. Thanks so much for joining us today. With that, let me turn it over to Jamie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Mears, and I'm a project developer with Ørsted. I'm located in Charlottesville, Virginia, but our North American headquarters are out of Chicago. And I graduated from James Madison University in May of 2020. And so I'm excited to offer a bit of the new hire perspective today. And I, while at JMU, worked very closely with Remy and Grace at Case, working with Kidwind, as well as participating on the collegiate wind competition team. And so I see a lot of potential for these programs in the collegiate sphere, and I can talk a little bit about how they've prepared me for my current job. But as a project developer at Ørsted, my main focus right now is solar development in the East Coast market regions.
Awesome, Jamie. We're so excited to have you here today as well. And last but not least, we have Jeff Meyer.
Hi, I'm Jeff Meyer. I'm also with Ørsted Onshore North America, and I'm in-house counsel. I've been in the renewable industry for about 5 years now, done a lot of solar development work. We were formerly Renewable Energy and also in the Charlottesville office. And in my role, I negotiate a lot of real estate contracts, a lot of revenue contracts for offtake of the power of solar projects, and M&A transactions for buying and selling of projects. And I've also worked on some wind projects and some battery storage projects, including a revenue contract for a battery-only project that we had down in Texas. So looking forward to talking with everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jeff. And so now that we have met our panel, and thank you all for flooding the chat with your introductions. It's great to see so many students here, but it's also great to see educators in the crowd as well. We hope that we give you a great view of the solar energy career pathways and answer all of your questions. So please do put in the chat any questions that you have. Or we'll find a way to get your question asked. But in the meantime, while you guys are thinking of those questions, I would love to hear from each of the panelists about more of your educational pathway. So a little bit more on like where you went to college and what you got your degree in, and maybe a little bit about how that, maybe directly or indirectly led you to that renewable energy career. So I'm going to start at the end and kind of go the other way, unless anyone wants to start in particular. I'll just call out people. So we'll start with Jeff and go backwards.
Yeah, great, thanks. And I should have said earlier that I also went to JMU, so go Dukes. And so I was a finance major at JMU, and that was back in early 2000s. So the renewable industry was not really taking off then. Then I went to law school, went to University of Richmond School of Law, and from there had a traditional kind of real estate development practice, doing commercial real estate development, and kind of ended up in the renewable industry by chance. I have believed in the mission of renewable energy for a long time, and saw a job posting for it, like I said, about 5 years ago, and said, hey, that sounds pretty cool. I'll go check it out, and interviewed and kind of fell in love with the idea of working in the industry and with the company. So I kind of ended up on it happenstance. But I think one of the important things that that for me was that working in the real estate industry, I think a lot of people don't really think about it this way, but to me, renewable energy is ultimately kind of a real estate play, and where the real estate's located is very important, and that's kind of the underlying basis for the project. So I think that's something that to me is maybe an interesting pathway to get into the industry. This is to not necessarily think about, say, panel development or manufacturing or something like that, but to think about real estate and how that plays into it.
That's a really interesting viewpoint on that. I think that's amazing that you're bringing up that angle, because I think you're right. A lot of folks probably aren't thinking about that kind of a job pathway. Anybody else in particular want to go next? I mean, Jamie, we know that you went to JMU. You just graduated. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, so I was a integrated science technology major, ISAT. Love to see a lot of ISAT majors on the call. And within that, I specialized my concentrations in energy and sustainability leadership. That was a tailored concentration that I chose that I felt like accurately represented the courses that I was choosing and the extracurriculars that I was participating in. And I actually knew before I even started college that I wanted to go into the renewables industry. That might be a major difference between me and some of my panelists, is that I was so fortunate to be exposed to this at a younger age, and that really formed my career path before I got to JMU. And JMU was my top choice because of the ISAT program and the opportunities that were available for me. And so from there, the collegiate wind competition very well prepared me for the job that I have now, and specifically the development world. And so I am happy that I'm able to share a bit about perspective today with you guys.
Awesome, thanks, Jamie. Ruth, what do you think?
So I mentioned I got an engineering degree from Virginia Tech and went straight to work for Dominion Energy. And I've had my career with this one company for 30 years now, but I'd say I probably have 5 or 6 careers within that one company, supporting nuclear power plants, other traditional power plants, supporting customer service, industrial customers, negotiating contracts for power, doing a lot of mergers and acquisition stuff. But it's really been interesting. This big project construction role I have now kind of started on the renewable side when we, as a company, decided to convert some of our old coal-fired power stations to biomass. And that was in 2012 timeframe. And then I've got a personal interest in sustainability, so I'm interested in your water gardens, and it's just kind of a very interesting topic you can put into place in your personal life as well as find a career in. So was always looking for more opportunities to do things that had a sustainability bent to them. And so I volunteered to be the one to manage our first utility scale solar project, way back in 2012. And since then, it's kind of grown. The costs have come down. It's a lot more customers want that opportunity to have their own dedicated solar plant built strictly for them, as well as our regulated rate base. The legislators want us to do that. So there's been some laws that have worked in the benefit of renewable energy that is making solar now my full-time job. So, but just to say, similar to what others have said, there's a real breadth of backgrounds that you're going to see in the renewable energy. Everything from the land use planning and all of the real estate stuff that's been talked about earlier to the technical side, but also from the government side as well. So everybody from local governments, state governments, and federal governments have task force and groups and others that are really focused on how best to put public policy together to support renewable energy. So, I would say that there's just a really wide breadth of skill sets that can be focused towards renewable energy. It's an exciting time.
I agree. Thank you so much. Patrick?
Yeah, I went to Wake Forest University and studied psychology as an undergrad. And what I loved about psychology back then was sort of the group dynamics and interpersonal relationships and decision making. So I gravitated towards a graduate program in industrial and organizational psychology, which is in particular how the human dynamic comes to bear in the world of work and how behavior and decision making and all of that plays out in the workplace. So that's been a wonderful fit for me. And my career has been a lot of different places. I started out in the defense sector because I went to George Mason for grad school. So we were up here, had a lot of grant funds and contracts with the Defense Department. So I did that for a number of years, and then was a little more interested in sort of the small business startup world than big corporate. So I kind of left Lockheed Martin, which is obviously big corporate, and got involved in some startups and also some nonprofits over the last several years. So my sort of professional background is a little bit agnostic to a particular industry, but as I said earlier, it's really fun to think about all those things I love about people and about organizations, but applied to a very compelling mission, which is renewable energy and sustainability. So it's I'm having a blast right now.
That's awesome. And you bring such a unique perspective as well. I love that. Nick, do you want to tell us a little bit more about how marine biology got you excited about renewables?
Yeah, so I graduated from JMU, as I said, in biology, and that was going to be it. And marine biology was going to be my thing. And I immediately got a job working on commercial fishing boats for NOAA. So the only interaction I really had with renewable energy was fishermen's anger at offshore wind and how furious they were that fishing grounds were going to be taken up. I really quickly realized that when sustainability and environmental butts up against a business, usually the business is going to prevail. If the money is going against your environmental strategy, it's really difficult to work through. So working for NOAA, I was really frustrated working in trying to protect oceans when people made more money by fishing more. So I realized I needed to get off the boat. So I went to graduate school at Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies and got my master's degree from there. And I happened to step into a renewable energy project finance class as one of my first courses. And it really clicked to look at business and the environment at the same time. It made business sense, it made environmental sense, and it made future sense, working towards climate change mitigation, working towards a better future. And it's booming right now. There are so many opportunities. There really isn't, as Jeff was saying, coming in from a real estate side of things. You can come in from an environmental permitting aspect. You really can come at this industry from almost anywhere and have a niche. And it's exploding right now, and I think it has a real power to succeed in this country. Thanks.
Awesome, Nick. I love this panel. I think you guys are bringing such interesting perspective to solar careers. And the one thing that I'm noticing as you guys are all talking is the huge amount of diversity in this field, from manufacturing to project development. We've got utilities here. There's this business angle, training, government affairs. I mean, everything is in here. What I would love for each of you or some of you to talk about would be maybe a little bit more about some of the main tasks of your job, and then maybe just give a little bit of a view of the diversity of the folks that you get to work with on an everyday basis. Because I have a feeling that we're not all engineers sitting in a room with more engineers. So I think it would be neat to kind of illuminate that for the folks in the crowd. And don't forget to put your questions in the chat, because I'm not going to monopolize the whole time here. Who would like to speak first on that one?
I'll take a swing at that one first. And I think as a developer, I'm sure Jamie will also shadow this, is you get to work with every type of person. And while you think your days are going to kind of be looking at spreadsheets and looking at your budgets and all of that, while that kind of exists, you're also on the ground talking to landowners, building this cooperation within counties and state government. You're working with the landowners that are partnering with you, and you're also working with the opposition that is maybe against your project. You're educating people. You're really getting in front of folks and explaining what you're trying to do. And then you have to turn around and talk to your civil engineers and be like, hey, we need to figure out how this works. So the the amount of people and expertise that you have to lean on in so many different areas is really important to the job, and being able to work with those people and speak their language and understand what each part of the process is, their goals and what they need to succeed.
Jamie, did you want to add anything to that? Maybe illuminate how ISAT prepares you for that?
Yeah, no, I think Nick nailed the explanation. It really is jack of all trades in the best way possible, because I every day am interacting with so many different people, both within Ørsted and outside of Ørsted, whether it's people going out on the site conducting surveys or writing lease agreements. And above all, it's just understanding how everything comes together. And over the last 8 months of being a new hire, that's been most of my training, is just wrapping my head around this. And it's so hard to get that at the college level, because every company is going to be different. And so don't feel intimidated as we sit here today and talk about how all of our teams are organized, because no matter where you end up, there will be a structure there for you that will make sense. But I will say that the ISAT program in particular did an excellent job of giving students the flexibility to focus on what they're really excited about. And for me, those were the energy classes, and even taking some of the energy policy classes and the economics and finance classes. I maybe didn't love them at the time, but now I'm really thankful to have been exposed to some of those terms now sitting in the industry. And really just having that vast expanse of experience has really come in handy. And everyone in the industry is so kind and passionate about sustainability. I can tell that everyone has a strong personal value within renewable energy and sustainability, and that also carries you a long way too.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Ruth, Patrick, does anybody want to chime in?
I'll chime in just to add that, as a manager, I deal with a lot of contracts, and I deal with a lot of, groups that are, planning and processing internal processes, improvements, and those type of things. But when you're given an investment to deliver to a ratepayer or any customer, I've always been given the advice, you need to make sure you understand where every dime is. So I have an engineering background. I didn't go to business school, but I think that one thing that I have learned on the job a lot that I wish I had learned a little bit more in school was about just getting comfortable looking at, earnings statements, getting comfortable looking at finance sheets, making sure you can understand economics, because even if you're coming at it from a public policy standpoint, there's going to be questions or directions about how did you justify this project. So you just need to make sure you're good stewards of the money that you're given to do. It's a great thing about renewable energy is that the prices are coming down, but you're still being challenged because you're asking somebody to help pay the bill, or you need to make a justification to your company to make an investment. So that's something that's been valuable to me, is kind of learning on my own. And then living it every day. So I now have some profit and loss responsibilities for the company that, I have to deliver, and, the dollars and cents have to come together. But the most fun part of my job, I'd say, is getting out in the field and, watching, a power plant be built. And so getting to talk to the people, the construction professionals. A lot of work is out there of construction professionals, people that went straight from high school and learned a trade and became experts, electricians or otherwise. Maybe you went to community college or full, 4-year college, or even graduate degrees. There's a lot of work in the construction field that has brought to bear, and those folks, they make it happen. They turn it into reality, and it's just really fascinating to kind of see hands-on aspects of this.
I agree. That's true. Patrick or Jeff? Jeff, you look.
Yeah, so I was going to highlight a couple other areas just to kind of show the breadth of the different types of people you work with. One is that we work with a lot of salespeople who are trying to sell the power to utilities, and are also selling the power to corporates. So you get to work with companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon and Apple, who are all out there procuring renewable energy to meet their goals. And then also, as far as building the projects, that requires financing. And there's also tax equity financing, which I won't go into the details of that, but you're dealing with sophisticated, huge, big banks like, Wells Fargo, Berkshire Hathaway does a lot of renewable energy financing investment through tax equity. And so you're dealing with them as well. You're dealing with sophisticated financing parties. So those are another couple of avenues you can think of roles to play in getting a project from beginning to end is kind of the sales aspect and then also the financing aspect.
Yeah, thank you for kind of bringing that full circle for us. And Patrick, from the manufacturing side, I'd love to hear your insights on the kind of people you get to work with every day.
Yeah, I was going to pass only because I would just echo what everyone else has said. That was all really well said. But the idea of getting to work with that full scope of, sort of the human value chain is really exciting. So yeah, we are a startup, so we don't have our own factory. We contract manufacture our product, which means we have a factory in Ohio that makes a lot of different kinds of things, and one of their contracts is with us, and they make our racks. So going out and interfacing with that factory is fun in lots of ways. One, renewable energy in a sense is kind of inherently good. There are plenty of people in the world who maybe aren't convinced that it's fully necessary yet, but there isn't anybody who thinks it's a bad thing. So it's fun to be involved in a project that nobody really is objecting to. And so when you're having your rack made alongside a lot of other products, we get a lot of attention. So when I'm out there, a lot of people are excited about what we're doing and have questions about what we're up to. And the factory is excited to be making it. They feel like they're kind of doing their part. So that's really fun. Yeah. And then, all the way up to, as Jeff was just saying, all the way up to the big bank finance side, there's a huge breadth of people doing lots of exciting things in the middle there.
Yeah, thank you. That's it's good to get that summary. So I want to pick up on something that Jamie mentioned earlier, as we don't have any questions in the chat yet. But Jamie, you mentioned the collegiate wind competition. And I want to open this question to all of you guys. Did you guys have any unique educational opportunities that you thought were specifically very valuable to leading you to this renewable energy career? And Jamie, we can start with you if you want to talk a little bit more about collegiate wind competition, and then maybe other folks have other experiences they can speak to.
Yeah, absolutely. The collegiate wind competition, in a nutshell, is a competition hosted by NREL and the Department of Energy, encouraging students to get involved specifically in the wind industry, both from a development and a engineering and design perspective. And so we see other competitions like the Solar Decathlon. There are some information security ones as well, but that wind competition in particular really was focused on what are the issues in the industry that we see today, and how can we apply that in the classroom? How can we expose these students to these issues before they even walk out the door? And so since then, I have been able to see a lot of these financing problems and these procurement problems that otherwise I wouldn't have been exposed to. And on top of that, being exposed to the kid wind side and bringing that to even younger classrooms where we're going in and building little model wind turbines with PVC pipes. I mean, just seeing the joy in the students' eyes as they're building something and then they turn over to the multimeter and there's a number on that screen. It's just the coolest thing for them to piece that together as they're trying to understand these science concepts. And I think it also instills a sustainable mindset early on as well, because you're exposing these students to the reason why we're doing this, not just what we're doing and how we're doing it, but what is the reason behind this and why are we sitting here today trying to push this industry out in the first place. Really, the only other thing that I'll add to that is the idea of it doesn't have to be a specific competition about wind energy, because this discipline is so wide and vast, whether it's the economics or just the personal connections, public speaking, having leadership positions in school. These are all things that I've found have greatly contributed to this line of work as well.
Sorry, I was responding to a question in the chat. That was awesome. Thank you, Jamie. Does anybody else have any educational opportunities that maybe like abroad or something like that may have brought value to your renewable energy career?
I would say try to take at least one business class. Try to take something where you're looking at the dollars and the cents. I know it might not be what you're most interested in, and it might not be the thing that really gets you excited, but it really does define our industry. It defines the way you go forward, whether a project gets built or not, whether the land is correct, whether the tax structure is right. What does it actually take to build these projects? And that was something that I didn't learn until grad school. I stuck my head in the science sand and kept it there. And I realized that it brings a lot of light to both this industry and all industries figuring out how that works. So I think that's crucial. Learn how to work an Excel sheet. I know they're not fun, but it does make a big difference.
I don't know. I love Excel. Everything belongs in Excel, right? Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Jim, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question for the panel?
No, sorry to join so late, by the way. I joined in just because I like to follow everything Remy does, and we get to work together on the new 17th career cluster in wind energy for secondary school programs. And specifically what Remy does is helps middle school and elementary school teachers find modules that complement the new high school courses. But just hearing this last couple of comments, in the search for competitions, ours is not alternative energy specific, but we're doing a pilot project this year with the Smithsonian to try to foster expos rather than competitions that facilitate innovation aligned with the career clusters, all 17 career clusters. And I'll put a link in here, but there's no cost, and it really is an experiment. And I'm dragging Remy into this, whether she likes it or not in the future, but it's really designed to bring out innovation where some students struggle with the rigidity of science fair independent, dependent variables that are understandably necessary for the Intel programs. So it's there in the chat. Thanks for recognizing me. I never know whether the raise hand function works with some moderators. Thanks.
Oh yeah, no, you moved right to the front of the line there. So good job, Jim. Awesome. And I did have a question in the chat about competitions. And so Sharon, I did answer you in there, but let me know if you have more questions about that. But we definitely have competitions for wind and solar for 4th through 12th grade students that we host out of JMU's center. And we're, especially in this time, we are getting very flexible and very creative with how we do those challenges. So summer is definitely an option. Awesome. So I wanted to kind of follow on with something that I think Ruth had mentioned. But you know, I think that with the Governor's Clean Economy Act, there has been some amazing goals set for our state, and I think those are really going to change the renewable energy career environment for us. And I thought maybe Ruth in particular, but anybody else would like to shed some light into where you see the opportunities for jobs in this area.
Sure, yeah, I'll start. So Remy mentioned, you know, Virginia particularly has, you know, signed into law. Virginia Clean Economy Act happened last year, and it really makes a voluntary standard, makes it mandatory. So that really kind of changes the nature to say that renewable energy is a mandate. And there's different timelines, different schedules associated with it. There's plenty online that you can read about it. But it means that you know, Dominion Energy and other utilities that have requirements to bring energy to ratepayers must bring a certain percentage of renewable energy every year and increased over year. So that has, it's really kind of driven renewable energy in a great way. Offshore wind is going to be a huge component to comply with Virginia Clean Economy Act. We have the first 2 offshore winds off the coast, 26 miles off the coast of Virginia, out in the water right now operating, and kind of proof of concept that offshore wind can be developed in the United States in a big way, similar to the way it's been developed across, you know, around the world. So we're taking that global ideas and bringing it back to the United States. And then for solar, it means that there's a lot of counties out there that are really welcoming solar that hadn't before, and a lot of developers out there that are doing great work, kind of all that land use planning work. And then when it gets, to developing it, then we have utilities and other power producers that are constructing. So a lot of construction work out there, which means a lot of design work. And then in other parts of the world, a lot of manufacturing that needs to bring to bear all the equipment that needs to come to be to develop that. And then a lot of interconnection work. So you have electrical interconnection, a lot of detailed studies and things that are evaluated. So everything from the technical to the policy to the permitting side is really growing, especially in Virginia.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Ruth. Does anybody else on the panel have any input onto kind of the opportunities that they see coming?
Yeah, I'd like to just take that second to talk about the importance of innovation, because one of the things that's great when there's a lot of attention and a lot of resources being poured into something like renewable energy, there will be plenty of people that spend that money in the traditional ways. But unfortunately, if you think about renewable energy, as beautiful as the concept is, the physical manifestation is sometimes still really ugly. So we have lots of big, huge windmills that take up the sky, and a lot of big, shiny black metal apparatus that takes up what once was really pretty fields. And all of that is good. Again, like I said earlier, that's not inherently bad, but all that resources and attention will also fund truly innovative and truly creative ideas that don't have to be as ugly, or at least don't have to look like the way they always looked. And so every industry is like this, alongside all the big players do it. And I don't mean to contrast big from small, because big companies do lots of innovation as well. I just mean a lot of the very visible manifestations sprinkled in will be a lot of really new, creative things that we can't even imagine at the moment. So if you're a creative type, wade into this industry where there's lots of attention and lots of money, and there'll be lots of freedom to generate new things that us older people can't even imagine at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that point of view there. Did anybody else want to chime in on that?
Well, there's one thing that I wanted to mention that I'd be remiss not to mention, which is battery storage. That's going to be definitely a huge thing that's in the future. Obviously, wind and solar produce power when the sun is shining, when the wind is blowing, and that's not all the time. And so a big thing is to capture that energy, so when it's there, when people want to use it. And you see things like what's happening down in Texas, which is not necessarily the same issue, but it's all about kind of matching up the power production with when people have the demand for energy. So I think battery storage is going to be huge, and that's one thing that I think everyone should be looking to for the future. And every project that we look at now, we consider a battery storage component.
I thank you for bringing that up. I was actually, the question that I just wrote down was to ask everybody on the panel the role of storage in the future of solar. So thank you for addressing that. And that's the other thing. Jamie mentioned the collegiate wind competition and the solar decathlon, but NREL actually just rolled out a new collegiate competition last year. It's called the Solar District Cup. And if you're not familiar with it, I believe what they have to do is they actually have to plan and design a solar utility scale solar project, but it also had to be incorporate storage into it. And I think their test bed was Northern Virginia. Like they had to put one in like a data center for Northern Virginia or something last year. University of Virginia participated last year, but that's the only Virginia university that I know of. But anyway, so there are other solar competitions. Awesome. I have more questions, but we have one in the chat from Sharon. She asks, Patrick, what types of innovative technologies are available to use with renewables as it relates to agriculture uses? That's a fantastic question.
Ooh, I do. I like this one a lot. So Sharon, I'll just say, I'm going to take out the word technologies there and tell you that there's a lot of room for innovation, not just in the technology piece, but in the process or in the design of a solution. So PowerField exists to make what otherwise would be a fairly typical solar array easier to install and less impactful and more portable. So we don't really have technology. Our solution is actually a really easy, simple plastic bucket per se that a panel attaches to. So we don't design panels, we don't design any of the electrical components. So all of that technology, there's lots of innovation happening there, but our innovation is in the ease of installation and reuse. So in particular in agriculture, there's lots of land that has a near future application for agriculture. There might be a field that's not under seed today, but may go under seed in a couple years. Well, you wouldn't drill a bunch of holes and pour a bunch of concrete and put up solar panels on a field like that. But what you could very easily do is put up a solar array using a racking system like ours, because you can move it in a couple years. You have not penetrated the ground, you've not disturbed the soil. It's a surface mount and it's relatively easy to set up and relatively easy to take down. So the innovation is just in the flexibility to use land for multiple purposes over time. So we don't have to permanently take over a piece of ground for a 30-year solution, but you might want to generate some solar electricity off that piece of land and then repurpose it in a couple years and move that array somewhere else. So that in agriculture, there's a lot of attention around crop rotation and multi-use agriculture, and so we're just throwing solar energy as one of those multi-use applications that can be rotated in a similar fashion.
And this is Ruth. I have one other idea, an agricultural and solar connection that we piloted, one of our California projects. It's actually grazing livestock, so grazing sheep. I think we tried goats. Goats didn't work too well, but that's why you pilot things to work. So it hasn't really rolled out in a big way, but I think there is some potential there to make sure that utility scale solar is extremely land intensive, and making sure that you can utilize the land in as many ways as possible with power generation and supporting agricultural uses, I think is a great goal.
That's fantastic. And Patrick, if you're ever looking for a farm to practice on, just let me know. And Jim has a research farm too over in West Virginia. So I'm volunteering Jim as I throw him under the bus. Wonderful. Well, these are great questions, and thanks for sharing some more things in the chat there. I want to go back to something that Nick mentioned, which was, the strong recommendation that you take some business classes. And I'm just wondering from the rest of the panel, are there other specific coursework recommendations that you might have for our college students in the audience, or even some of our high school level teachers that you think are super important if you're looking for a job in the solar industry?
Yeah, I can start with a quick recommendation. In addition to the business courses, I found that actively seeking out opportunities to understand how these technology works has been really beneficial. And I'm no engineer, I'm not working hands deep in the lab, but it is really nice when I'm out in the field talking to landowners about these technologies to really understand what it is we're dealing with. I get questions all the time about what are the chemicals used and what are the risks associated with putting these types of technologies on my property. And so understanding the physical components of these technologies, no matter what aspect of the industry you want to enter, I think is really, really important. And then the other point I'll go back to is encouraging yourself and putting yourself in situations that are outside of your comfort zone, whether that's public speaking and taking on extracurricular leadership positions in any regard, because those are the sorts of skills that'll really pay off. And I want to make sure that I throw out the opportunities outside of a traditional four-year college as well. I know Ruth is really active in the SHINE program, and I want to make sure that I throw that in, and so it gets covered during this question because I think it's really relevant here as well.
Thanks, Jamie. Ruth, did you want to chime in then?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. So SHINE is a nonprofit organization, and they're really focused on workforce development for solar, and they have connections with the Virginia Community College system to provide some certifications, which I think they've done some pilot cohorts. They were 3-week certification programs that allow folks to go from zero to be able to be, right there in a solar field, doing construction, knowing all of the safety components, a lot of industrial safety, a lot of solar safety components, but also, the movements and those type of things, and making sure that they can be, supportive day one when they can get to the site. These utility scale solar projects, they take hundreds of people to build, and then they move from place to place. But one great thing that the Virginia Clean Economy Act is telling us is that they're going to move from place to place within Virginia. So there's a great connection with the Virginia Community College system, which is all over Virginia, to be able to work with Shine, get this certifications going, so we can kind of prepare those folks that are looking for a job, and it could be an entry-level job, and that's fine, to kind of get started, aware of solar energy or other type of renewable energies, and get some real-world experience, right out there in the field. I'll provide some information about Shine in the comments before we hang up.
That'd be great. Thanks, Ruth.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick plug, and really this cuts across whatever you decide to go into professionally. Learn about people. So you should learn about business and finance and science and things like that, but you're going to be working with people and for people, and people are going to be working for you, and no matter what you do. And so there are lots of great courses in conflict resolution, in the social sciences, and motivations of behavior. And you don't have to major, but there's a lot to learn about how people behave, how to treat people, and how to lead people well. So that'll serve you well no matter what you decide to do later on.
Thank you, Patrick. I think that's a fantastic suggestion. Ruth, did you have something you wanted to add? You came off mute for a sec, but I muted you back.
No, I think I was typing, so I was probably making noise. Thanks for muting me.
No worries. Nick or Jeff, you guys have any other suggestions on some coursework outside of what you've already given? Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of double click on the same thing I started at the beginning with the real estate, and also think about from a land use perspective. The gatekeepers to a lot of this are local governments and county board of supervisors and stuff like that. They're going to be the ones who are going to approve these projects or kind of put the conditions on them that may make them uneconomic. So perhaps there's courses you can take in land use and permitting and things like that, which may be a little bit more kind of off the beaten path of what you think about traditionally.
I'm going to just mirror that 100%. The amount of work that it takes at the local government level, the counties and the municipalities that you're working with, it is a huge amount of work. And so if even now, if you want to go to open houses for meetings, go to these meetings that are held. They're all public. You can go and hear what is said. That's really where it happens. And if you don't go through that process, you don't ever get any renewable energy on the grid. So I agree. Those
town hall meetings are amazing. And just a quick plug. I know that I mentioned that we can help schools if they're interested in getting a wind or a solar demonstration project on their campus. And through that process, we do walk the kids through this project development process, and we highly encourage them to be the ones presenting to their school board or to their county board of advisors for their projects. So that project is a fun way to get some of those real world experiences that these folks are talking about into their class.
I'd like to add something. I think it was Jamie who said it earlier, is learning how to speak, taking a presentations course, or making sure you understand, how to PowerPoint, or, learning how to take a message and deliver it in a way that other people can understand it is a skill, and it can be learned, and it has to be practiced and otherwise. And so that's a great, topic to keep on your educational list, is making sure that, public speaking can be part in your tool belt, because regardless where you are, being able to deliver that message is going to be really important.
I agree. That's a fantastic recommendation as well. And Eileen, thank you in the chat. Take at least one political science class, because yes, that is a huge piece. That would be a fantastic way to round out your education there. Riley has asked me directly about internship opportunities, and I'm just going to bring that up here. Have there been regular internship opportunities for JMU students from the renewable energy industry? And we definitely open up internship opportunities at JMU through CASE, and then they kind of get introduced to the renewable energy industry a little bit indirectly through us. But not, and I'm saying this outside of your direct message to Riley, because I think the folks on the panel need to hear this, is we would be happy to facilitate internships for all of the companies that you all represent or any of your colleagues, because the JMU College of Integrated Science and Engineering is full of those folks that you might be looking for. And so while there may not have been in the past, we would like to see more and more internship opportunities coming from the renewable energy industry for our JMU students. And so if there's a role for us to play in kind of collecting your internship needs, and then we can, you know, funnel you students, you let us know, but I think that would be fabulous. Wonderful stuff going on in the chat. We're coming to the end of our time here. I just had a couple of quick questions, maybe not for every panelist, maybe one or two could chime in, but I'm wondering, are there distinct differences in the types of jobs or the type of education needed for jobs in utility solar versus residential solar? So I think we've talked a lot about utility. Is there different ways to get into the residential solar industry? And does anybody on the panel feel like they can speak to that?
I can, oh, sorry. I'll just really quickly input here that after graduating from the ISAT program in May, I know that our senior class last year of energy students had students going and working for residential solar companies as well. And so that is a plug for specifically that the JMU program, demonstrating how you can take the same course load and apply it in both from a new hire perspective, but I'm curious to hear what my other panelists have to say.
So this is Ruth, and so I know there's plenty of companies who it is just as Jamie said, it is their bread and butter, their core business to support residential solar, and so that's a booming industry as well. Plenty of people want to make their own personal investment for additions to their homes, or they'll commission a new home and say that it needs to have a solar water heater or solar power generation system associated with it, or battery storage system associated with it, Tesla and their Powerwall. There's plenty of great products out there that people want incorporated and close to them, living their values. So, I don't think there's anything different that I would recommend. Others just, find that partner, find that company that, you really like what they're doing, and, try and find a way to get involved with them or get involved in a partnership organization that is supporting them.
Great advice. Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in real quick? I have one last question for you guys, and this is a fun one. And I do want all of our panelists, I think it would be great as we're kind of closing out, I would love to hear from each of you about what do you love about, what is your favorite thing about your job? Because I have a feeling that you guys are all very passionate, and I think it would be great to share with our audience. So I'm going to start with Jeff.
Yeah, I think the main thing is the people. It's because you get to work with people who are all similarly motivated, similarly passionate, and all kind of care about the industry. I mean, I've worked in other places where it's all kind of just about the work and getting the work done and making money. But here, the underlying thing that we're doing kind of motivates people. So you get people really excited about that and really excited about the work and who want to really work really hard and work together. So that's the main thing for me.
Awesome, Jeff. Thanks. How about Patrick?
Yeah, well, you won't be surprised to know that I have this love of people business. Yeah, but also somebody said earlier, you get to do a lot of different things. There are so many different components to these projects and so many different phases. And if you're on the development side, or the product side like we are, but we also do some development of projects. There's just a lot to do and an opportunity to be involved in a lot of different stages and learn as you go. So, there's something to be learned from experts at each of those stages. So it's diverse in terms of the activities that need to contribute to these projects, and your ability to get involved right from the beginning in all of that activity and learn all those different components is really exciting.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Nick, what do you think?
Oh, go ahead, Ruth.
All right. So I'll add the dynamic nature of renewable energy. So things that were, the innovation at the time, even just last year, we're having to, retool and, change for next year. Otherwise, it's a really dynamic industry. And so that just energizes me, makes it very exciting, it's new every day.
I'd mirror that I'm always doing something different, for better or for worse. You're never going to be sitting down and doing the exact same thing every single day, because it just doesn't work like that. And while there are stresses and crazy days and really, really strange situations that you never thought you would get into, you find yourself in new opportunities to learn, new places to grow, even if you're not a high-level person in the company. If you're an analyst or if you're an intern, all of a sudden you're talking to the commissioner of accounting and figuring out what they need. And you gain experience very, very quickly. While this industry has been around for a while, it hasn't been mainstream for that long. So the ability to learn and become a player in the industry is huge, and you can do it really quickly. And that's really cool.
Yeah, Nick, that's great. Thank you. Jamie, do you have any last thoughts there?
Yeah, I'll echo exactly what Nick said. I am a very relational person, and so the development world has really allowed me to take advantage of that skill set and create relationships with not only landowners, but members of the local community, and especially what Patrick was talking about with regards to being on the forefront of emerging technologies and being able to represent this for a community that maybe doesn't know a lot about it, and maybe they just have questions and they want to pick your brain about it, and you can be that ambassador for the industry, which I found to be really incredible. Otherwise, what I love about my job is doing this. I mean, this is the coolest part, when I'm able to take the very limited experience I've only had in the last 8 months and already be able to give back in this capacity. And I love that Remy put this together for us, because I know everyone here is really passionate about the industry, and these are the opportunities when we're able to prepare the next generation of the members of this industry, and that is so exciting. I know we're living in a crazy time, and as someone who was hired during COVID, I can tell you that it's going to be okay on the other side. And I'll even drop my email in the comments here in case any new college students or recent graduates have any questions about that in particular.
Thanks, Jamie. And I'll just add a couple of things that I find, I'm in a different part of this industry, but I still consider myself part of the industry. And I would say my favorite things about what I do, outside of being able to play with kids and teachers every day, would be that I get to travel a lot. I've seen more of the state of Virginia than I ever thought I would, going to very different and rural schools and all over the US. But on top of that, the one thing that I love is being able to tell my daughter that I do something every day that is going to help make her future cleaner and safer. So for me, that is one of the big reasons I left oceanography, because oceanography was like, the world is going to die every day. And so I feel better about being part of a solution than studying problems every day. So, so those are the reasons I love this job personally. So thank you so much. If any of the panelists would like to throw their emails in the chat, in case anybody on the call has some other thoughts. Nick, did you have a last thought? I think I saw your hand raised.
Nope, I was just laughing about your oceanography comment.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's a fun field, right? Wonderful. Well, thank you. We're right at our hour. Thank everybody for being here. This did get recorded. I have saved the chat So we will make all of this available on our website. If you want to share this with your students, for the teachers out there, we'll make sure you get a link to the YouTube video. And all of the links that everybody put in there, we'll make a resources tab on our website as well, so you can get to those from a central location. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our panelists. You guys rock. Thank you for your support. Most of you are our sponsors for Kidwind anyway, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Remy. Thanks,
Good,
everyone.
Remy. Good to be with
Bye,
everyone.
guys. Thank you again.
Have a good weekend.
Yep.
You too.